Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to Advanced Warfare in Depth. In today's episode, we're going to be reviewing the AK-12 Finger Trap. Among all of the elite weapons in the game, this is perhaps the most unusual one. The gameplay that you're seeing is me playing on Solar with it, and I'm going to be trying to use its eliteness, its unusual attribute, to the best of my advantage, but it's one that doesn't come up often, and let's just go ahead and talk about it. You get minus 30% hip spread, so it's all hip fire on this weapon, and that's what I try to do whenever I get a good opportunity, is to hip fire people so that you can see how that works. Minus 30% hip spread is actually a little bit unusual. Most of the weapons use hip spread as a penalty to something else. Not many of them have a tightening of the hip spread, and I believe this one might have the tightest hip spread in the game, increased, by the way. Now, there's some submachine guns tighter than this, obviously, but this has the most increased hip spread in the game. But that's kind of it, which is unusual. Most elite weapons have damage, they've got rate of fire, they've got some kind of crazy magazine or something cool going on. This one's just got tighter hip spread, and that's kind of all that's going on with it. It's kind of like having a free laser sight attachment. It does a very similar job as the laser sight, except instead of having that little attachment slot there, it's just kind of free. Now, it's easy for me to just say 30% hip spread. I think you should take a look at it here. This is the normal AK-12 on the left and the AK-12 Finger Trap on the right. This is when I'm standing still. You can see the difference in the crosshairs. The next picture that you're going to see is the normal AK-12 on the left again and the Finger Trap on the right. And this is when I'm running. Now, the walls, of course, don't match up because I'm running. I'm trying to get it. This is the maximum circle size, and you can really see more of a difference here than you can when you're standing still. And do keep in mind this radius is a square factor, so small changes in the radius make big changes in the overall area, and you'll really feel it more when you're running, kind of like in the picture here. When you're running around and moving, you'll definitely notice that the hip fire on this weapon is better than the base variant, but when you're standing still or prone or whatever, you probably won't notice much difference. Even though the only thing you gain from this one is the hip spread, it does have a pretty severe restriction or downside or nerf or whatever you want to call it. It has no attachments allowed. You cannot put a single attachment on this gun. A lot of times it restricts a certain class of attachments, like no optics or like no undermounts or something like this. This is nothing. This is no red dot sight, no foregrip, no laser, no fast mags, no quick draw grip, no undermount, no, absolutely no attachments allowed whatsoever, which is again why I said it was kind of like a free laser sight. I thought initially I was just going to put a laser sight on it, but then I was like, oh wait, no attachments whatsoever, which is so quirky and so unusual. And my rating on this one, how I feel about it and my advice to you, is I really don't think that this is worth it for an elite weapon. It doesn't really feel that elite to me to have better hip fire, especially on a weapon that's always 4 shots to kill, because a 4-shot kill hip fire weapon really isn't as awesome. It would make more sense for the BAL when you can 3-shot people up close, but with the AK-12 you're mostly going to be outclassed in a hip fire battle just because of the damage on the gun. It's interesting, it's unique, it's different, it's definitely offbeat, but is it very practical? No, not really. Now, there are 2 ways to use it. Way number 1 is I think it's probably best used on a class that's loaded up with perks. If you don't really feel that you need weapon attachments, or if you really like the AK-12, it does have the good AK-12 iron sights, not the weird circular ones. You can put it on a class, you can take your little hip fire bonus, and you can just load up with perks. You can have tons of perks and kill streaks and that sort of stuff, and that's a good thing if you want to do that. Or something that some of my subscribers have recommended to me, you can actually use it as an overkill primary. If you want an overkill primary, a lot of people like to have a backup assault rifle or something, and if you don't want it to take up an attachment slot, if you don't have space for anything else, this actually makes a very good overkill weapon just because it has a natural, like, innate bonus to it that works pretty well. Also for hip fire, because if you think about it, if you're sniping and you want to pull out your overkill weapon, you're probably kind of in a pinch anyway, so hip fire is something that you're going to be looking for. It works pretty well for that, but overall I really don't think that this is the best variant. Definitely not the best AK-12, and just very unusual. This is really not a great elite weapon, and if you don't feel that you're going to be using it too often, I wouldn't worry about it, and you can chunk it if you want to. That's all for this episode of In Depth. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you learned something useful. If you'd like to check out the previous episode, that's on the MP11 Goliath. The next episode is on the Amelie Subverter. That's going to be kind of a crazy episode right there because that's a very powerful weapon. As always, if you enjoyed, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.